We've seen biological males in women's sports, transgender surgeries for minors, critical race theory. Culture wars are just kind of exploding in these first couple months of the Biden administration. We covered last week an internal memo from the Republican Study Committee urging Republicans to lean into the culture war and to really lean into critical race theory because it's a winning issue for Republicans. Would you agree with that? Is it a winning issue for Republicans?
Well, I would say that Republicans didn't start a culture war. The liberals have been waging a culture war on normal Americans for a very long time now, and it's well past time for all Republicans to join it and fight it and win it. I mean, this goes back to the Obama administration, persecuting Catholic nuns, trying to force them to pay for birth control. 15 or 20 years before that, no Democrat would have supported something like it. But their party has become so radical on some of these issues that they are far beyond asking for toleration for different ways of life and different viewpoints, whether it's political or religious, far beyond asking for acceptance. They want to enforce celebration. They want to use the punitive power of the law and of the federal government to enforce their far left worldview. That is not popular. It's not even popular with a lot of their own voters, certainly with a lot of independents or Republicans. And so I think it's important that Republicans realize that normal Americans expect us to stand up and to fight back, oftentimes just in the name of common sense. Of course, you should not have boys competing in girls' sports. How is that fair to those girls? And of course, we should not teach our children the lie that America is somehow fundamentally flawed or systematically racist and that they should be ashamed to live in America. We should teach them they should be proud to live in the freest and the greatest country in our history. We should teach them times where we've failed to live up to our high ideals, but also teach them all the times when we made progress towards those ideals as well. These are very basic things, but a lot of liberal elites in Washington simply don't see that. I mean, they're caught in their own bubble, and they're trying to use the power of the federal government and law and regulation to enforce their worldview on a large majority of Americans who reject it root and branch.
Like you were saying, liberally it's often dismissed the culture wars as perhaps more of a religious side of politics that are not as interesting. But now it seems like people are paying a lot more attention to the culture wars as they escalate. Do you think that Republicans should be leaning into the culture wars in this way?
Well, again, the Republicans aren't starting some kind of culture war. Republicans are simply trying to defend normal Americans from a war being waged on them by cultural elites. And there are some issues that have religious themes or touch upon diverse religious views, but there are other issues as well, like simply respecting our flag. There was an Olympic athlete a few days ago that turned her back on the flag at the medal stand after her event in the U.S. trials. Well, she wants to compete wearing the Stars and Stripes. She wants to compete with the Stars and Stripes hopefully being raised on the medal stand. I think it's the least that we can expect people to do is to actually honor the flag. Honor the flag that people her age are wearing on their uniform in our armed forces, defending her and our right to even do something like compete in the Olympics to begin with. So again, these issues touch on a lot of different currents in American society, but the one common thread is that you have a very small but very noisy and very influential liberal minority in Washington trying to enforce a monolithic worldview on a very large, diverse country that rejects it.